Well, boy, I'll tell you what, some testosterone, thankfully. We got the main event with Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana against Shelton Benjamin with MVP. And this was not only one of the better Swerve matches I've seen, but the only thing actually worth watching on this television program. And again, except I'm not happy about the timing of the booking with what they did with the finish here. And they do actual rotten finishes, not in terms of who's winning or losing, but how it happens. But it appears for most of this that once again, Shelton and MVP are agenting, producing their own stuff here because this was a wrestling match followed by a wrestling angle, which is out of place on this show, and it was perpetrated by grown adult men. And Swerve, as I predicted, was kept away from his worst instincts, and his leaping and athletics and etc. didn't get too fancy for the sake of being cute, but instead was a response to a more physical guy that was dominating him. So he had to use his speed and his inventiveness. And that's when this shit works. And I mean, again, Shelton, he out wrestles the guy, so Swerve has to be a little quicker. And Shelton gives him a belly-to-belly over the top rope to the floor, but Swerve gets an arm lock and scissors it around the ring post. And when Shelton opens up and starts manhandling Swerve, finally, he'll get hope spots, Swerve will, from underneath, but then he'll get suplexed on his ass again. And then 10 o'clock came. They were almost in break. They came back from the break right at 10 o'clock. Of course, they're going overtime. And again, I don't know why they're putting the best thing on the show at the end of the show where the fewest people will see it, but nevertheless, that's what they did. When Swerve made his comeback, did you notice that he didn't have the people with his comeback? Do you know why?
Well, I actually thought they had a problem getting the people into the match, or at least getting them to make noise throughout the whole match, but why here?
Well, if anybody wants to go back and look at it, when Swerve finally opened up with his comeback, I mean, he hit a kind of a missile drop kick off the fucking top rope to the back of Shelton's head, and he did some other stuff. But what he does is not a good babyface comeback. It's a good series of moves to do in the match. But a babyface comeback needs momentum. It needs him to be cooking. It needs to kick it into high gear. This is where the heel becomes a ping pong ball and starts bumping. And everything that Swerve did, he was doing a fancy move, but it took a little bit to set it up. Like he's got to do something to Shelton where Shelton is sitting there, and then Swerve has to run to the buckle and then jump off and hit him with an elbow in the back of the head. But Swerve is taking the big bumps. Everything he did in the comeback either took a couple of seconds to set up or gave Shelton no bump to take. So, because the babyface was doing the pretty stuff. In the comeback, the ideal babyface comeback is he stands in the middle of the ring and the heel feeds him. And the heel bumps the fuck out of, off of him. And the momentum. I see guys, when they'll make a tag and they'll punch a guy 2 or 3 times to back him up into the ropes, and they'll shoot him off, and the guy will reverse it and shoot the baby face off, and they'll duck and do bullshit. You're wasting fucking time. When a baby face gets a tag in a tag match or just starts a comeback because the heel has missed something, the people want to see him cook. They want to see him punch the guy in the face and him take a bump. Punch him in the face, he takes another bump. Now back him up, shoot him off, hit him with a fucking drop kick. He takes another bump. Or give him a body slam. He takes another. Bump this motherfucker and do it ba-bing, 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 and then hit him with a big one. The guy can sell. The baby face can fire up the people. And then you go into your false finishes. But this is inside the ring and outside the ring and this fancy thing. And there was no momentum and there wasn't a heel bumping. And then Swerve tried to get, at first I thought he was trying to get a full Nelson on and Shelton was fighting it. But then it looked like that he was trying to get some kind of abdominal stretch and couldn't figure it out. And then it just looked like that Shelton was looking behind him like, are you going to put a hold on me or what? And finally, none of these things transpired, Shelton double wrist locked him and took him down and had the double wrist lock. But then Shelton was on the bottom and Shelton had him float over and get a 2 count. And he had him float over. Shelton stuck his own leg in the middle of Swerve's legs and kicked it up a little bit, like, come over here, to get him to cover him. And then Shelton took over again. So I don't know whether Swerve was trying to put a hold on that he didn't know what the fuck, but anyway, thankfully, Shelton is an experienced professional. And then they went back and forth and they hit the big moves. And then suddenly, Swerve got a sit-down power bomb, did the double stomp off the top rope, cover, 1, 2, 3. Again, seriously. I know they're setting up what we're about to talk about, but not even a manager spot to give Shelton an out. What about if MVP had come up the goddamn bullshit over something and Nana fucking got on him and Shelton went over to fucking save his goddamn manager, boom, and nails Nana and then turns around and gets the fucking boot or whatever. But again, all they do is flat finishes. I'm sorry, at this point, it was too soon to beat Shelton. He's just got there. But they're trying to set up the introduction that they're about to do. But you can still figure a finish to give the guy an out so that you've not damaged your one commodity to introduce your next commodity. And I've never seen so many people, baby faces and heels, just get beaten. With no outs, no bitches, no gripes, no slip-ups, no making a mistake or no capitalizing on a mistake. They just do moves until somebody wins with one. And that's a rotten way to do finishes. The fuck?
Especially to someone you just brought in.
Especially somebody you just brought in that's looked better than everybody else on the roster. So anyway, the point is 1, 2, 3, Swerve wins. And MVP gets on the phone at ringside. I'm not saying there's a payphone at ringside. I mean, he gets on his phone, but he's at ringside. And suddenly, as he's talking, the lights go out. And there's a big pop from the people. And then the lights come back on again. And come to find out it was an accident. And the fucking crowd went, whoa! Pretty. And when the lights came back on again, that now everybody's standing around, and then suddenly music starts playing. Most of the lights go out again. Then the lights go out again, but there's still a light over the ring because it's Bobby Lashley. And the production crew got their fucking I's dotted and their T's crossed in the wrong fashion. But now here came Lashley, and he got a big pop. But I'm thinking, who did MVP call on the phone? Did he call the light guy or the sound guy? Think about that. How did he call? If it's one thing for Paul Heyman to call Roman Reigns on his cell phone when Roman ain't there to report on the shit that's going on, right? But did he call Bobby Lashley, who's standing at Gorilla, said, okay, MVP says it's time to play my music. No, turn the lights back on, the music first. What's going on back there?
Yeah, where was Lashley was he near a monitor? Because, he got out there pretty quickly, all things considered.
Well, yes. And that's what So anyway, if MVP had been for weeks calling somebody on the phone, all right, nevertheless, they have ideas and they just go, oh, let's do that. But nevertheless, Lashley comes to the ring, gives MVP a big hug, has a face-off with Swerve. The people chant, holy shit. Remember, didn't somebody say, oh, they don't want Lashley, he's too WWE or whatever the fuck. They like any name that shows up.
No, they treated him like a star, those fans.
And then when Shelton popped up on the apron of the ring and diverted Swerve's attention, MVP, Lashley clotheslined him and started kicking the shit out of Swerve. And finally, MVP stopped Prince Nana. He hit him with the cane and then put the cane around his neck and was choking him with it. Because remember, before they've just let Nana stand there with his dick in his hand, doing nothing. And MVP was too smart for that, so they held MVP down, and then Shelton gave him a super kick or whatever. And Lashley chokeslammed Swerve and put the hurt lock on him. And here comes the referees and the security, but the heels were doing the King of the Hill the right way. The manager's got a blunt instrument he's hitting people with. And while Lashley's on Swerve, Shelton is kicking the security guys and top roping them. It was chaos. The baby faces were in jeopardy. The heel group, in a believable way, kicked the shit out of everybody. And there was momentum to it. And then MVP takes the microphone, and all he has to say as he's standing there with Shelton and Lashley is, guess who's back in business? And the people cheered like crazy. Because this is something. This is men doing wrestling. It was better than Moxley's bunch for 8 weeks of TV in one fucking segment.
Well, the other thing, too, is people forget that right when WWE started getting really hot again, the Hurt Business was still on top. Lashley was still one of the world champions. Right when things started to, bubble up.
Yeah.
And everything with the Bloodline took off. That's why for so long we wanted Bloodline versus Hurt Business. And it never really happened. And I think the fans treated them like they were the stars. One of the things, it was pretty quiet so you could hear stuff. The AEW, great job of miking the audience as always.
Yeah, you could hear a mouse pissing on cotton in that building that empty.
Botchamania, I think it was, put up a video where, they played that and you could hear the referees as they're running out, just like running out. 90 seconds! 30 seconds!
Well, it doesn't help when they're screaming 90 seconds! And one of the guys in the ring says, what'd you say? And the guy in the third row said, he said 90 seconds!
No, the fans have treated them like, especially here, treated them like main event stars, and that's exactly what you want. Don't fuck it up. It's going to be weird with them coexisting as badasses while Moxley's driving around town or whatever he's doing with his little gang, hanging out by the gas station. What do you think Moxley and them do when they're not at the arena? Hang out over by the 7-Eleven and get some soda? What do you think they're doing?
Maybe playing skee ball. And again, as you mentioned earlier in the program, why would Tony Khan have to call the Jackson boys, those little delicate little things who just ran like cowards, or Jungle Jack, who is the most effete, bearded man I've ever seen, and their broken down Japanese paraplegic friend.
Oh, you're forgetting the big friend. That's who it's going to be. It's going to be led by Kenny Omega.
Oh, I forgot. And gutless Kenny.
No, he has guts. They fixed his guts.
They put his guts back in.
I think so, right? They don't remove his gut. They didn't remove anything. They just fixed it up.
They took him and set him out to the side. It's like when you're doing one of those recipes where it says mix these ingredients, set to the side.
It's like one of those brain surgeries I read about in the Observer.
Yeah, they take the brain out and they set it aside. But why would you need to call those? I will give Kenny his credit. He's the only one of the bunch that looks like he could whip any grown adult man, professional athlete or otherwise. But why would you call them when you can just say, hey, MVP, Lashley, Shelton, can you go stretch these stupid motherfuckers for me?
Miro, I'll let you out of your contract. Just take out these men. That's what he should do. He should call in Miro and Wardlow and Hobbs, all the big scary guys would be like, look, whoever takes out Moxley gets out of their contract at once. And then it becomes like a mad race every week. Who's going to take out Moxley? Meanwhile, they're all fighting each other because they're trying to get to Moxley.
You're saying it's a wrestling version of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yes, it's a King of the Mountain where the winner gets to leave.
Boy, in that case, there'd be some goddamn people stabbing each other in the guts to fucking take over from that.
You know what? We got vehicles. We got people running around wrestling. The locker room's always dangerous. I think it could really be something. But that was Dynamite.
Yeah, and that was something.
And that was something. And lots of people listen to lots of something, whether it's music, whether it's podcasts, whether it's audiobooks, whether it's just more music. And if you need to listen to something, and you do, we all need something, a little something in our lives. You can get that.
A little something, something.
You can hear that something, something. You can hear that. Yes. With Raycon.
Just say the word. Something in the way he listens when he puts those earbuds in his ear. Something in the way he plays the music that you don't want to hear.
What?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying.
Are you talking about me?
Yes, I'm trying to rhyme you out of playing that music. Folks, if you want to hear music played by professionals or podcasts done by professionals, you can even hear our podcast on these things. The Raycon Everyday Wireless Earbuds are what you want. And I'll tell you what, you've heard about the Black Friday, you've heard about the Cyber Monday. As we said before, we've even heard about Dog Walk Wednesday, but now every day of the week is discount day at Raycon, because if you have not heard, they are offering up to 30% off everything on the site. Up to 30% off, depending on what it is. Some may be more, some may be less. All of it is significant. And they already start at just half the price of the other guys' everyday earbuds. So, yeah, you know, the other guys, they make these earbuds. You can only wear them on Sunday, in your Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. Because they're so expensive, you can't afford to wear them 6 days of the week. You'll wear them out quicker. But the everyday Raycon earbuds, they start at half the price, so you can wear them every daggum day. What's the worst thing that can happen? Let's say you're wearing your Raycon Everyday Wireless Earbuds when you get run over in a street by a bread truck. Now, a lot of other people would say, well, goddamn, that means my Raycon investment is blown. I'm not going to be able to leave these Raycons to a member of my family because they've been run over by a truck. But you will be relieved to know, ladies and gentlemen, that studies have shown if you get run over by a truck while wearing the Raycon Everyday Earbuds, there's at least a 60% chance these things are still going to work. You have a family member or the coroner take them out of the ears of the particular empty vessel that used to wear them, and you send them to the kid, and the kids put them in their ears, and they work just as good as before they were run over by the truck. And
first of all, there's no stat about any of this. Let's just make sure we
some kids say that you could even hear the dead person talking to you in the Raycon Everyday.
No, that's certainly not how Raycon works. This is not any kind of way that you can connect with the afterlife. But with Bluetooth, you can connect with all sorts of music players and all sorts of players. Play your favorite things wherever you go. You just want to play and play and play and listen and have a great time with Raycon. And there are no statistics about bread trucks running over anyone.
Well, it doesn't have to be. So
there's no reason to even bring it up.
It doesn't have to be a bread truck. It's just a 6,000-pound weight limit. But nevertheless, is that the multi-point connectivity that allows you to connect not only to other devices, but also across the river Styx to the other world? Because it says multi-points. So anyway, folks, if you'd like to hear from Aunt Fanny, she's been gone for 25 years, but you take the Raycons down to the cemetery and just walk in circles 3 times over Aunt Fanny's grave while you're doing the multi-point connectivity.
Listen,
and she'll be glad to tell you off.
unless Aunt Fanny was buried with a router, you probably ain't going to hear from her on your Bluetooth with your Raycon, but you can listen to all your favorite tunes.
How do you know what Aunt Fanny was or was not buried with? As a matter of fact, the Diddlator Mach 3 was her favorite household appliance.
Okay, well, that diddlates. That doesn't give off some kind of signal with verbal cues.
Well, you could connect to it. That way you could hear Aunt Fammy.
Aunt Fammy, what can you hear her say?
If you connect with it at the exact moment of her demise, you could hear her come and go at the same time. But anyway, folks, Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just have the standard issue white or black, because things are not black and white anymore, folks. It's shades of gray. But I don't think they have shades of gray, because if you have gray skin, well, you might better go back and see Aunt Fanny. You might need to lay down next to her. Folks, right now, it's time to save big. Go to buyraycon.com/JCE today to get up to 30% off of these fine items and implements site-wide. Up to 30% off. Buyraycon.com/JCE. And talk to Aunt Fanny again. She sure would love to hear from you.
Once again, whether it's Fanny or Fammy, forget about all that. Don't forget about the good sounds and needing good sounds with Raycon. Buyraycon.com/JCE.
That was a great sitcom, Aunt Fanny's Family.